Exclamation everybody, and welcome to Bladestar. It's a 2D shoot 'em up, and the reason I am covering this week is because earlier in the week I played a game called Ancient Frontier, and it's by the same studio that created this. This is called Fairweather Studios LLC, and as far as I can tell, there's only two games that they have on Steam anyway. This and Ancient Frontier. And they both take place in the same universe. They're both the same lore and stuff going on. This is kind of the precursor to what you see in Ancient Ancient Frontier. This kind of gives you like the sort of the very, very basic universe, and then Ancient Frontier kind of builds upon it. And I felt compelled to, even though this is just a plain old shoot 'em up, I felt compelled to actually record this week because I feel like it suffers from some of the same problems that Ancient Frontier suffers from. At the same time, it also shows some of the strengths of this particular studio. So I kind of wanted to just do it as a compare or contrast with this and Ancient Frontier. So as we do here, let's go and just continue from where I left off. I'm at wave 11, I believe. And just using the keyboard, mouse for the menus.
Source of energy, assuming, of course, you can handle a few falling rocks.
Alright, and you'll see very quickly it just kind of devolves into just a straight sort of bullet hell-esque thing, although for most of these waves you're just dodging asteroids. But they will bring enemies in eventually here. And you can hear the computer voice telling me what I'm actually picking up, weapons, and most of these are falling from the sky are weapons. Now, the interesting thing here is that, this will be good, that'll clear the board. What I'm trying to do is each wave you'll see these little blue, not these big blue ones, but the little blue sort of, this guy that's falling down right now. That is resources, that is proto-matter, which if you played Ancient Frontier you kind of know that's the fuel of the universe.
You are going to have to fly deeper into the field to get the richest proto-energy deposits.
Proto-energy, excuse me. That is the fuel of the game, and basically we're a mining ship going through and trying to grab as much fuel as possible. Now the wave ends when you grab enough fuel to fill up the top left bar there. So I think it's like 10 segments in the bar. Every time you pick up one, you get one segment in the bar. There's also a bonus that you pick up. There's XP that you pick up. The XP is used if you make it to, well, it's used for two reasons. One, there's an extras menu that gives you like different skins for your ships you use the XP for, and also extra lives, which is why I have 3 lives instead of 2, which is what normally starts you out with. And it also unlocks power-ups at the end of 10 waves, assuming you make it all the way to the end of 10 waves. I have made it as far as wave 18 here, and not much further than that.
Complete.
The other thing to notice is that as those weapons keep falling from the sky there, my blaster and whatnot, it'll keep switching up to whatever was the last weapon I just picked up, in this case the blaster, and it will put one more, so now I've got rockets now, and it will put one more segment in the bar there until finally you've filled up all of your bar there. So as you pick up, it behooves you to continue to pick up those weapons, because eventually you'll get all your weapons up to maximum level, and you can really go to town on the enemies. Here, grab that. It's my blaster, which is at max level, it looks like. XP, we'll get some of this. We're almost through this wave. So the waves take as long as it takes for you to actually collect all the blue stuff here. Now, obviously, there's a minimum length of the wave because You're gonna have
Wave.
you're waiting for them to be generated and fall from the sky.
Lost all contact with our miners in the area. You may not be alone out there.
And now it's going to give me some AI enemies to fight as well as rocks. So what they basically do, the basic premise of the game thus far is just throw. You start out relatively straightforward and then just throw a ton of nonsense at you, and then towards the end it'll start speeding everything up. And it's rinse and repeat on that. Now, ordinarily that would be, that would be fine, I guess. I mean, this is the type of genre, people who enjoy shoot 'em ups would enjoy these, these mechanics. And just like I would say for Ancient Frontier, people who liked tactical games would probably like a lot of what Ancient Frontier tactical combat games would really like a lot of what Ancient Frontier brings to the table as well. So it's like Fairweather Studios, they do a good job of actually, researching their genre and actually making their games faithful to the genre that they're doing. The problem is, as you've probably already surmised, they have a pacing problem. And I'll explain it in terms of this game. I've kind of explained it in terms of Ancient Frontier as well. Basically, the games tend to overstay their welcome, the levels and everything else. Now, it's granted that these levels are as long as you make them, because you just have to be good at collecting the blue stuff. Oh, there goes a life. You just have to be good at collecting the blue stuff, and then that's how long your wave is going to last, which is fine. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. What I am saying, though, is that why is it 10 waves? Or why isn't there more in the middle? I guess. You could do what they're doing here with 10 waves before you get to a boss battle. That's sure. Or to the main boss battle.
We are detecting multiple incoming signals to your position. Energy signature reads as pirate raiders. Time to earn your salary.
Shimmy, shimmy, shimmy. So yeah, it's okay that every 10 waves you get a big boss. That's fine. That's what they do here. But I feel like they should have just said, all right, every 5 waves you get a mini boss. And then that gives you, there's another life gone there. Only got 1 ship left. And then that should give you maybe a mini power-up thing. Maybe it would take a moment to show you the power-ups screen, which you only see after, wave 10 and wave 20 and so on and so forth. And even though you wouldn't have as much XP to spend, it would still give you that sense of progression, you know what I mean? You could still balance around that. Right now, as it is, what happens is if you don't make it all the way to wave 10 or 20, you don't see the boss, and you end up having to go all the way back to wave 11 or wave 1, depending on what section you're on. Right? And then you gotta go through all the same stuff again. It's all the same generation of ships and same lore and everything else. Everything is pretty much the same. You're just grinding all over again, the same thing out. And it's even worse in level 1, because level 1, there's actually no asteroids or anything. You just have to collect the blue stuff. It sort of serves as a tutorial. But if you get killed in wave 10, like I did several times, then you gotta do that all over again. And it's just time consuming, and things just take, they just kind of, like I said, the pacing is just off, right? It's like, you can have a casual shoot 'em up like this. That's fine. You can have a slow pace, but it's got to not overstay its welcome, right? You got to. Oh, what did I hit there? Well, that sucks. I got no lives left here. But it's got to, it's got to still move along a little bit. And the more you have to repeat the same things over and over again, the worse your pace feels. The worse the slower and slower the game feels, even though it's not really that much slower. And that's not really what you want, because then that's where boredom starts to set in. And Ancient Frontier had the same problem, right? Where it's like they had these maps. They had some good ideas for the missions.
Good work, but you are not out of the weeds yet. You seem to have flown smack into the middle of a pirate fleet. Interceptor dogfighting wing inbound.
So they had maps that were, they had good objectives, and they had some story that they would put up front and all that stuff, and that's fine. I mean, the lore, I get the feeling like the devs are more invested in the lore of these games than the players actually are, honestly, because it's just not. While I like lore as much as the next person, it's just not very compelling yet. The way that the universe is written. That said, if the gameplay is good, then it doesn't really matter then, right? You can kind of sit through those lore parts and just say, all right, well, I'm not really into it, not really into the story, but at least it's something keeping, a thread keeping all the maps together and all that kind of thing. And I think that's probably, for this one here, I feel like it's the same thing. For Bladestar here, I feel like the devs are more invested in the lore of the game than really I am. And it's not necessarily enhancing anything. It's certainly not hurting anything, but it still is a slog. The game is still a long slog here. And you only get lore bits every 2 waves anyway, every even wave. So it's like, it's not heavily emphasized. It just feels like it's not really improving the quality of life and everything of the game. And as I was saying with Ancient Frontier, like, the maps were good, the objectives were good, but the AI was spread out across the map. Some of the maps were way too big for what was trying to be accomplished. You spent inordinate amount of time just trying to navigate the map and trying to find things, and it just felt like a slog. It was just a long, drawn-out thing. And this feels very much the same way. Now, the question is, how could they fix it with this? Because this is just a shoot 'em up, right? Well, first of all, have like a mini boss every 5 levels, right? Like I said earlier, have a mini boss, have them, and that was that. Got all the way to wave 19, and now the problem is, if I go back to the main menu, if I retry level, it actually puts me back to wave 11, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, which really sucks, because now I gotta go through the whole thing again. We've all heard all this stuff. I gotta sit through all this again. It's just rough. Like, have a mini boss at at wave 15, or wave 5, wave 15, and make it so that that mini boss gives you an opportunity when you defeat it. It gives you an opportunity to do your upgrades and do your leveling up. Right, which the upgrades are mostly the upgrade screen, which I'm probably not going to be able to show you because I'm sucking so bad at it. Basically allows you to use the accumulated XP that you've gotten while playing the level, playing the waves, and you turn that into just permanent upgrades for your weapons and whatnot. Like, your weapons will, like, you could say Blaster will always start at, say, level 2 instead of level 1 like it normally does. That kind of thing.
Wave complete.
Or you can get extra lives or something like that. So that's what the upgrades are, and it's nice. I mean, it's a good addition, but again, it's rare that you see it, and it's very hard to get to. The other part of that too is that by giving you that little bit of break, you always feel like you're making progress. You can also make that a checkpoint and say, look, You make it every 5 waves. You get a nice little checkpoint, so that when you invariably die to the big boss guy, wave 20 or whatever, it'll only take you back to wave 15 rather than taking you all the way back to wave 11. That way, you only have to fight through 5 more waves instead of fighting through 10 waves again, which makes a big difference because it means that the punishment's still there and there's still a reward for being good, but you don't have to slog through all the stuff again.
Complete.
I think that would help out a lot with the pacing of this. And again, Ancient Frontier had the same problem where it was like it just kind of, the maps sort of overstayed their welcome, so it feels like they're just kind of suffering from the same problem. All their games from Fairweather Studios so far, at least the ones on Steam, are suffering from the same problems, right? Which is that they're actually pretty darn good games under the covers, but they don't pace correctly. They kind of overstay their welcome a bit, and they end up just being boring, just plain boring, which is probably the worst thing you could ever say for a game, right? Is that like your game is fantastic except it's boring as hell, and this falls under that same sort of category where it's just like it's actually pretty good. The mechanics are fairly good. I like what they're doing with things. I like that there's upgrades and stuff like that, and that you can only take really 1 hit. Although I think there should be some invulnerability after losing your shield like that. But it's
lost all contact,
and the little bits of lore are good. I mean, it's all like a good solid foundation. It's just they sort of left it to try to be fun on its own, and you kind of need something more than that, or it's like too much of a good thing is still too much kind of a deal. It's like, yeah, that's the best I can phrase it without repeating myself even more again. What the hell did I hit? Was there a weapon, a bullet there that I didn't see? It must have been. Alright, so that said, I mean, it's a decent game. It's, I believe it's obviously fully released. I think it was released back in 2015 or 2016, early 2016. And it's $9.99. Bladestar is US. So yeah, you're looking for a shoot 'em up. It's actually not. It's not terrible by any stretch of imagination. It's just kind of boring. Again, a real shame because it could have been a contender. Just like Ancient Frontier could have been a contender. This one could have been too, I guess, but it's just not particularly compelling. It's not really bringing anything new to the genre either. I mean, it kind of does with like upgrades and stuff. That's actually kind of neat. So they have good ideas about how to make their stuff stand out a little bit more. Just not very good execution on it.
Signals to your position. Energy signature.
So, my friends, this has been Bladestar. It is by Fairweather Studios LLC. It is trying to look over at my notes and not get killed at the same time here. It is $9.99 US on Steam. It's fully released. Where's my notes at here? I know I have notes around here. I can't see them because there's too much going on the screen here. There it is. Yes, $9.99. It's fully released, and it is. I mean, it's halfway decent. It's kind of boring, but it's at least competent. Much like their Ancient Frontier was kind of competent but boring. This is the same deal here. So, as always, I'm trying to focus, and also I knew I should have tried to get past that asteroid there. I'm trying to do my outro here and also concentrate a little bit. But as always, I will leave links down in the description so you can do your own due diligence. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.